Good evening. This is the regular monthly school board for October for the Concord School District. Today is Monday, October 2nd, 2023, and I am calling the meeting to order. Ms. Hastings, can you call the roll, please?
I can. Mr. Richards.
Here.
Ms. Higgins.
Here.
Mr. Weinberg is arriving late this evening, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Mr. Cotton.
Here.
Ms. Robinson.
Here.
Ms. Meeker.
Here.
And Mr. Croto.
Here.
We are here. We have a quorum.
Very good. Thank you. First item is approval of the agenda. I would like to make one amendment to the agenda, and I would like to move recognitions 5A to right after the consent agenda for the Class of 53 annual update. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Croto. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We'll make that adjustment to our agenda. Are there any other additions or changes to tonight's agenda? Not seeing any. I will accept a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Cotton, seconded
Second.
by Ms. Higgins. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstention? The agenda is set. Item number 3 is the consent agenda. Tonight, the consent agenda consists of the regular monthly meeting minutes of September 5th and the Capital Facilities and City and Community Relations meeting of September 6th. Does anyone wish to move that? Bring that forward? I'll make a motion to accept it.
And I'll second it.
Very good. We got that done.
Excellent.
All right. And any further discussion on the consent agenda? Not seeing any. All those in favor of accepting the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The consent agenda is approved. With that, we will go to item 5A, Class of 1953 Annual Update with Ms. Hoadley. Ms. Hoadley, if you'll come up to the microphone, please.
Yes. Too many things to carry.
No problem. We'll wait.
Mr. Richards, sign in.
Oh, yes, Ms. Hoadley, would you mind signing your name to?
Not at all. I like being on the other side of the desk. Please print. I can write.
You may use cursive if you like.
No one younger than me can read it, but that's okay.
We used to have writing lessons in class. That's how old I am. Okay, you know where I live. My name is Betty Hoadley, and I have been a taxpayer in Concord for over 60 years. You've kept track of this because I started telling you that when I was back around 57 years of continuous taxes. And this being tax day, it brought it back to mind. I live in Ward 2. I used to live in Ward 3 and I didn't move, but they moved me to Ward 2. Okay, and I vote there too as well. I'm a committee of one who has come to tell you about the Class of 1953 Scholarship Fund. Now, the Class of 1953 was brought up in the 40s. I clearly remember the day that Pearl Harbor was bombed. So we're old. But that's important for you to know because it means that we have had money to give to the scholarship fund, but now that many of our members have passed on, that is a diminishing pool of money. But I want to start by telling you that in 2004, after our 50th class reunion, we began our first scholarship funds. We gave one scholarship of $500 to a graduating Concord High School senior who got through the gauntlet of doing the Common App, which you folks know about, and it was done, the apps were examined by and reviewed and awarded by the counselors at Concord High. And I have to tell you, they do a wonderful job. When Steve Rothenberg was here, he would actually send me, and very seldom did we ever disagree with the ones that they had chosen. But just to give you a little idea, before we did that, we gave money to the media center. And we were so old that we didn't understand media center. We still called it the library. Because I remember, that's what it was always known as. But just to give you a flavor of how much money we've raised. In 2015, we raised $2,200. The next year, we went to $3,100. The next year, to $3,300. In 2018, $5,360. Wow. And then in 2019, over 6,000. And that's a wow, because that's the highest amount that we ever raised in 1 year. Now, this past year, we raised about 5,500, but you have to remember, we have a diminishing pool of people who are able to give, and so that's still a very high amount. Now, this year, we went for the second year to 3 candidates at $3,000 per. That means that we were handing out $9,000 this year, and that had happened for the previous 2 years. I'm told by someone who's in the know that the class of 1953 is the largest single donor to awards and scholarships that are given at Concord High on graduation day. The next part of the story is, how shall I say, a little overwhelming. Hold on to your seats. I found out, and I knew that it was correct, from Maureen Kale, who's with Jack's business, and she and he assured me that the present balance that we have in the school managed funds, thank you very much for managing them, is $34,000, yes, I said thousand, $200.16. Don't forget the 16 cents. Okay, so that was what we had after the 3,000 were done. And then this year, over the summer, we have raised another 5,500. So our total is just short of $40,000 from one class. I have to tell you that we have very generous members. We have several who are extremely generous, but all of them are generous and they give to their ability. The next news is not good or not bad, depending on how you look at it. We have decided after the 70th reunion that was held this summer that we will not have a 71st. We're not having 71 or 2 or 3 or 4. But the lady who has been in charge of this for all these years says, well, I think we better look at it again in 75. Well, we don't know who's going to be here in 75. This is a problem that you probably don't quite understand because you're not there yet. But this was a very, very difficult decision. I had this all set. I've been the one who sort of managed it. And the reason I managed it is I knew all the school people. I knew who to talk to, who not to talk to, how to get it done, in other words. There's one other person I want to really commend is Michelle Gamache at Concord High. She does the financial business up there. And she and Maureen and Jack and everybody just keep everything ticking, as do the counselors. I was all ready to shut the fund down. In other words, ask them, the counselors, to award out another 2 or 3 years and just expend all the funds. But I had 2 or 3 people come to me and say, you can't do that. I said, really? Why? Well, because we want to keep giving. Well, if you want to keep giving, guess what? We'll reopen the fund. We will keep it absolutely open. And so the good news is, even though we are not going to be meeting, there will be a chance for people to go ahead and donate money. And we will continue with the people at high school who do all the things they're supposed to do. The awards will be made. And at some future time, way down the road, we will run out of our funds, I'm sure, because there will be nobody left from our class to give it. But what I really wanted you to know is that the fund is still open, even though we are not meeting for the next 4 years. And so the last thing I want to tell you is, I think that if you took our donations to the media fund, the library, and all of our scholarships since, that we've probably expended as much as $60,000, yes, 60. And now when you put it with the almost 40,000 that we have in the bank, I think it's fair to say that we will have given at least $100,000. One class. So this is my annual report. If you want a report next year, I'll come in because all the data will be ready. We'll be able to tell how many awards have gone out, what our balance is, what we make. But we started this last year because, we got to the point where we had to decide if we were going to keep going or not. So that's the story. The story is 60,000 already distributed and another 40,000 or more, and more, I should say, not or more, and more, because these people, and the other thing is some people will take care of this in their wills or some other way. So we may continue to have gobs of money for quite a little while. That's my report, and if there are any questions, I'd answer them. But if not, I'm gonna go home and have supper.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Ms.
Betty.
Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Hoadley. And please extend our thanks. Please extend our thanks to all of the very generous people of the class of 1953. I'm confident that you'll be around at the 75th, and we'll
Being
want to
honorary-
report.
If being honorary lets you live, I'm good.
You're all set.
And Ms. Hoadley, if someone wasn't in the class of 1953 and wanted to contribute to your fund, would that be acceptable? And who should they talk
Absolutely.
to?
Right, in fact, there are a couple of people here in Concord who are class of 53 elsewhere, but they're very committed, absolutely committed people. And so I've very nicely supplied them with how to make out the check and how to write the number on it and everything. So yes, if there are other people who would like to join in with this effort, just let me know, and we'll get it. Oh, and the best line of all, I'm talking to Maureen, getting everything checked out, and she's helping me I gave her a little thank you note to return to people, because that was important to our people. And I looked at her and I said, well, I think we're all set. And she said, you have to be sure, Betty, you have to be sure that I don't want to lose $1 of your money. And I said, well, all right. So we know that everything has been done carefully by the school district, but it's a joint effort. We give the money, it gets processed, thank you notes come back in, thank you notes go out. It's a thing that works well. I just wish more classes had joined us.
It's very generous to our students. Thank you.
Thank
Anybody
you.
else have any questions for Betty? Enjoy your dinner, Ms. Hoadley.
Thank you,
I will
Betty.
make sure that people know, because we have one small correction due to the bank in how to make out the check. So we'll be in touch with you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And with that, we will go to our celebrations with Abbott Downing School to this evening. Superintendent, I see them there.
Well, you know, this is one of my favorite parts of the board meeting, when we have a chance to celebrate students and the work that they do in their schools. And so tonight, the assistant principal, Laura Landry, is with us. And Laura is going to bring up her group, and they're going to share their work and the project that they're working on. I think you can see it behind you. What is Student Union? So welcome, and Laura, you want to take over?
Yeah, so I, again, am Laura Landry, the assistant principal at Abbott Downing. I have three friends. Come on up, guys. They're going to introduce themselves on their presentation, but have a seat right up here.
Please make sure that they use the microphone so the people at home and who watch on video can hear them. Thank you.
And with that, I will let them take over.
Hi, I'm Evan,
Hi, I'm Ella. Hi, I'm Harper.
and today we're going to answer the question, what is Student Union?
We are a group of students from grades 3, 4, and 5. We are nominated by our 3rd grade teacher for showing qualities of a role model for our fellow students. Student Union and activities are committed to the values of
Mutual respect, cooperation, and communication, creativity and innovation, or new ideas, community service and leadership, academic and intellectual freedom, pursuit of excellence, and diversity.
One year, the Concord American Legion donated old flags to us to practice flag folding with.
Army veteran Jeff Buffito and his son volunteered to come teach us about flag rules and proper folding techniques.
In October, we had the opportunity to attend a 2-day conference to learn leadership skills.
FYI, we are going again tomorrow.
There we learned how to sit like a leader.
And work as a team.
We worked as a team and made sure we all are heard.
There we created both a logo.
We chose the wolf because we are the leaders of ADS and we look after our community like a wolf pack leader does.
And we also create.
Oh, sorry, I missed that part. I jumped ahead.
And we also created the motto "Community Mates Unity."
For World Kindness Day, we had 2 displays where the kids could be the eye and kind. This was a big hit.
Yeah, I like it. That's a great idea.
Every year we collect new pajamas and socks for local foster kids.
In the year 2021 to 2022, we collected 904 PJs and socks. In the year 2022 to 2023, we collected 1,027 PJs and socks.
Last year's service project was to build, decorate, and hang birdhouses around the school. We hope to improve the ecosystem in the bird community. All the houses had birds.
FYI, not a single injury occurred during the building of the birdhouses.
Being in student union means we appreciate our staff members. Last year, we made them all gifts with glass magnets we made by hand and created a sign to let them know how important they are to us.
We even got a shout out on the ADS Facebook page.
In the future, we hope to
Devote more times to community projects.
do more environmental cleanups.
More off-side trips, example going to the animal shelter.
Thank you.
Great job, guys.
No. So first of all, Evan, Ella Harper, thank you for coming and presenting. Not only is the work you did really great, and I appreciate the fact that no one was injured. You're a very safe group. It was very professionally and very well presented. It was really amazing. I'm hoping I'm sitting like a leader right now. I'm a little worried about it. But
We'll talk later.
thank you so much. Does anybody on the board have anything else to say or questions? Go ahead.
I was just wondering when you all meet. Do you meet after school or during school?
We meet after school on every Wednesdays from 2:30 to 3:45.
So you're giving up your own personal time to do this in addition. That's great. Well, thank you very much.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Ms.
I
Meeker.
saw a lot of familiar faces in those pictures, you guys. What do you think has been the funnest part of being a part of student union?
I would probably say I really like the birdhouse making because sometimes I could, like, when we go to gym, we walk around and you can see, like, I've seen, like, birds in my birdhouse and other people's.
That's very cool.
Cool.
Nice.
Go ahead, Mr. Crotto.
Well, thank you. You did a great job. How many kids are in your group?
Normally 3 students from each grade.
Very cool.
That's a good number. It's big enough to have a lot of ideas, but not so big that you can't come to a consensus.
That's awesome.
Anybody else? Well, I personally hope that you choose to come talk to the school board and tell us what you're doing next year again. We'll squeeze you in somewhere because I'm impressed with all your hard work and I want to say thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Well done.
Great job.
Proud of you.
They need to train everybody to how to present.
They did a great job presenting, and
Thank you.
Bye, you guys.
thank you. Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Every school should have that.
It's a great
They're
idea.
doing a ton of great work too. I mean, that was. Do you see that? That number of socks, over 1,000.
Yeah,
socks and
that's
PJs?
really
That's
great.
pretty cool.
What cool kids.
Very good. Sophia and Van, you have to follow that. No pressure, but Superintendent, it's time for our student reports, correct?
Absolutely. We always come first.
Good evening, everybody. I was just going to start us off saying hope everyone's doing well. And at CHS, I feel everyone's finally settling into their schedules, with last Thursday, the 29th, being the last day for students to make schedule changes for the first semester, so everything's set now. With this, classes are in full swing, with most classes starting our summative assignments, which are the ones that finally go in the grade book. And with classes in swing, we're like starting to implement our Crimson culture, which we talked about last meeting, and we're getting our first report at the end of quarter one. And these are all going to be represented in the skills, which are collaboration, community, creativity, and self-direction. But this isn't going to be scored in like our regular 1, 2, 3, 4. We're doing it on a constantly, sometimes or not yet, which is to reflect like the skills that we're using in the classroom. And one of like the big events we have coming up is the PSATs for all 11th graders, and they're being offered 100 10th graders to be able to take the PSAT. And this year we're moving to an online PSAT as opposed to like the usual pencil and paper tests that we used to use. And the testing dates we have are October 17th for 10th graders and 18th for 11th graders, with a makeup day on the 20th. And as you know, this is a large step for 11th graders in preparation for the next step after high school. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Sophie for her report.
Hello everyone, it's finally fall, and as Van mentioned, Concord High School is settling into the school year. Last weekend we had our homecoming festivities. Our football team unfortunately lost, but our school spirit kept our hopes up. We also had back to school night, where parents and students met with their teachers and had some insight on what their children will be learning this school year. Last week, Van and I also attended the school board representative training with Superintendent Murphy and Dr. Herbert, and we learned some new skills in presenting our information to all of you. And with this, we will also be implementing a report of other happenings within other schools in the district. So this week, we heard from Abba Downing. Coincidence, they were already here. So they had their new student and family orientation in August, and this featured classroom visits and some more info shared about what Abba Downing is all about, and a tour of the school and visits with several of their community partners. They also had their back-to-school night, and several hundred visited Abba Downing School to check out the school, their children's classes, the Scholastic Book Fair, and their community partners, including the Cub Scouts, Abba Downing Historical Society, with Concord Coach, Choose Love, and the Concord City Library. This month has featured the rolling out of their new school-wide expectations and routines, and they will celebrate their achievements and their current theme of courage at their October school gathering. This month in the high school, there are some exciting events planned. First is a senior class fundraiser. I have to throw it out there. We are doing we're doing this thing called Craving Concord. So every month we're going to introduce a new restaurant that we'll be collaborating with. So this month is Playa Bowls. It'll be on October 24th from 3 to 7 p.m. So treat yourself. They're very delicious.
Yeah, they are.
It is October 24th from 3 to 7 p.m. So it's a Tuesday. And if you say you are with Concord High School, a portion of your purchase will be given to the senior class. Also, the Concord High School Fall Concert is October 26th at 6:30 in the Concord City Auditorium. Thank you and have a great October. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I have to say that even though the football team didn't win the game, the homecoming was a huge success. The parade was awesome. And you know, everybody turned out, and I do have to give a shout out to the class of 1983, who not only marched in the parade, but also had a big presence at the game. There's at least one member of the class of 1983 here
Proud to
sitting
be
here.
83.
81 had more fun
They
though.
did a great job. 81.
Just so we're clear. You were just sophomores, you know, when I graduated.
Little class rivalry, as I can see here, but thank you very much. So, go ahead, Mr. Croto.
May I just, so I don't know who pushed forward the idea of bringing the elementary school into the report of the two high school students, but it was something that was talked about on this board some time ago, and I really am happy that that has happened. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. During our training, they kind of suggested the idea that we should be sharing with everyone in the district, and I believe that we get the opportunity to share our voice of what's happening in our school, but for the younger kids, they don't have that opportunity, so we'd like to be able to share it for them, and hopefully we'll hear more from Runlet as well and the other, like Chris McCullough, other elementary schools in the district, and I think it's going to be a great way to kind of figure out what's going on.
Yeah, that's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Good.
Very good.
Way to go, team.
Mm-hmm. Superintendent.
I told you this is my favorite part of
It
the board.
is.
Not only the students from Abbott Downing tonight, but also our students from the high school. And I'm going to comment on that training. I think I'll start off with that first. And Lakes Region superintendents wanted to make sure that with the new law requiring all districts to have student representatives on the board, of course that was already in place in Concord, but this gave a chance to the districts that maybe this was the first time that they had students on their board. And Pam Walsh, by the way, board member, was at that meeting also. And they did Barrett Christina from the School Board Association and Rebecca Wilson, who's the governmental liaison from the School Board Association, facilitated the discussion. And they shared the kind of role in giving the students ideas about their role on the board, which is really important. That's their voice. They can help adjust policy by giving you input, so it's really important. But at the end, they also had a chance to say what else could you do? What other things could you do? And Sophia said that when we had the hearing for the field, the memorial field, there weren't a lot of students there. Well, it was at, early in the evening. They all have either a game and they're away, and they're coming home on a bus, or they're at practice, because some of the practices are staggered, so that different fields can be used. And there wasn't a loud voice from the students. So as a result of her effort to be more involved in the Memorial Field Project, we will be doing focus groups at the high school and at the middle school so that we can hear from the kids too. And so I want you to know that, and I thank you for bringing that issue
great.
up and making that clear to everyone, and certainly to me, to bring home to Concord. So we're working with our Director for Recreation, Mr. Gill, and he will be sharing that facilitation with me when we meet the students. So I'm actually looking forward to it, so kudos to you. Hey, I thought the year was off to a great start. That was my opening, but I do want to. I think it was off to a great start. When we talked, it was the 1st of September, right? And it just, I think that was, we had only been in school a few days, right? But I think our students have settled in very nicely and productive, which is really important. As you know, we're watching student attendance, because that's really important to us, making sure our students are in school every day. If they're not involved and engaged in their learning, then it makes it difficult for them to move forward, and they have a lot of responsibility. You heard from Finn tonight, PSATs around the corner, only followed by SATs. And they're all, it's really important that we have them there with us so that they can be prepared for those. I said Finn because last year, I apologize, Dan, I was thinking Finn. He's already gone, he's left us. I apologize, Dan. Anyway, we did get off to a good start. I think that it was a very productive month. I think that the public hearings that were held, not only for the Memorial Field Project, we had a good representation. People had a chance to express themselves. themselves. I think the two public hearings that you held, one face-to-face out at Millbrook last week, as well as the one that we did via the Zoom call, was very productive. We got a lot of really good questions. We heard from a lot of people. There were in excess of 125 at the first session and 70 at the second session, so nearly 200 people had a chance to voice their concerns, or at least lodge their questions to us so that we could respond back to them. So again, I think those community efforts really were really valuable for us as a district. Certainly for me, as we prepare all the documents that we need to. I think the other thing that we did a lot, again, this month was really about being out in the community and participating. We had a table, as many of you know, a Concord School District table at the Multicultural Fair, which was a festival, I guess they call it. And it was an awesome day. Lots of questions from folks in the community coming by, asking us questions about the district, as well as certainly our project, because we had one of the maps, which is behind us, out for their viewing, and had a lot of great questions, and that was an excellent event. The other event that we did was Jack and I presented at the Chamber of Commerce a couple weeks ago. We called it the State of City Schools, and so we were able to update all the chamber members around the kinds of things that are happening in our public school. And I think we got really great feedback from membership, and again, a way that we can be out in the community and communicating the good work that's done every day here in the district. So other than that, we have some other issues that I'll jump in on, but I'd like to move over to Jack and let him talk a little bit about the district technology governance plan. I think you saw, some of you, not all of you, may have seen that last year. PM McLeod brought that to you as a draft, if you recall. We have worked on it over that time, and our IT team has also reviewed it. And so I thought maybe we'd take a moment. It's in your packet. It's very lengthy, but it does cover all the aspects. I see some of you smiling. It does. It covers a lot of aspects of the work, especially security and the servers and all the things that we do every day. So it's important that you have that, and it's a document that needs to be updated on an annual basis. So I'm going to let Jack highlight.
Yeah, I worked with Dan Albert here to do an upgrade from I think it might be pre-COVID before you guys may have seen this. So, but this is something that's required that we bring to you to approve. We are still working not only through this, which is in here as a living document, but also through the security audits that we've had done over the last year and implementing some of those things. We'll brief you in the future on that in a non-public session as it relates to security. But if there's any specific questions, I'll do what I can to answer them or get back to you with answers.
Go ahead, Mr. Crito.
So I attempted to read through from cover to cover on that.
And let me guess, you got to page 29 and got stumped.
So had to call for help. I wonder, is this a document that we're expecting our staff and folks to read and understand? Is this, I mean, it's such a magnificent piece of work, you can't imagine that it's just going to sit on a table somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I think we have to take multiple facets in order to, but yes, long story short is yes.
I wonder if then an executive summary could be made of just the highlights in that document that could accompany that. I think more people would be happy to read it at that point, but that's just Tom Croto speaking.
No, thank you, Mr. Croto, because I was thinking of PowerPoint. As I was reading through this, we need a PowerPoint presentation, so.
It's just so much detail in it. It was hard to really to extrapolate the most important points. We're going to try to bring this, we wanted to bring it to you first, and then we'll move it on to the administrative team, and we'll highlight the critical areas with them. And then they are really they bring that message to the staff along with the technical team. That's the digital learning specialists in each building who are very much involved in this when it was being written and developed. So I think we still have a ways to go in terms of making sure the information is there. Cybersecurity, if anything is important, please look at that and see the work that's been done to protect our district, because as you know, districts around us have been vulnerable, and so we want to be very careful with that. And I think a good job has been done. There's information in there about the MFA, the multiple authentication that has to be done. We've really ratcheted that up so that it protects our information, basically.
Any other questions? So Jack, this is reviewed annually prior to the school year, and so that changes can be set up, and these folks have checklists to go through. All of our computer science folks have a chance to go through and make sure everything's ready before the school starts.
Well, through the IT staff here, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. Go ahead.
Just for clarification, you said that you bring this to the board to approve. Would you say that because I only have this document, is it significantly different from the previous one, or is it mostly just like recent updates to cybersecurity?
Some recent updates, and we can get you that comparison.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I didn't know, did it used to be like a one-pager?
Shorter. It was much shorter.
Now it's 60.
Yeah, and then we added some extra stuff.
Yeah, okay, just checking.
So Superintendent, you want us to approve this plan?
I'm recommending that you approve it so we can move forward with the dissemination to the staff.
Okay. Should we postpone this or delay this until after public comment in case anyone has a comment on this plan?
That's fine. That's fine.
I think let's put it right after public comment and then have that vote. Don't see anyone out there raising their hand to comment on it, but I do want to give them a chance for public comment. So, thank you, Mr. Dunn. Thank you, Superintendent.
So if we can continue, we've discussed the school lunch program extensively. We did in Finance Committee, so Jack has a proposal and a recommendation from that committee relative to the school lunch program.
So, in June 26th, the Finance Committee, we talked about this. We talked about it again August 30th, and I think we had asked for a little bit more detail, and I put in front of you a breakdown that shows the number of student accounts and then what that debt was. So to read this report, if you look at the first line out of Downing, the free count, so there were 19 students that made up $185.50 of that debt. Those that were status of reduced, there were 7 that made up $415.70 of that debt. And 87 paid students that make up $8,896.35 of that debt, for a total of $9,497.55. That's how you read that report. So this gives you the breakdown by what status they are and how much of that money made up of those students.
I gotta ask,
Yeah.
The federal government is supposed to be picking up the entirety of lunch for free count students, correct?
Sure.
So why is there,
They go up and get a second meal or a milk, there's no that they have to be charged, they're not free. Free just means you get the free meal, the first meal.
okay,
But if they come up through the counter and they have a milk, you charge the account.
would this also include like breakfast in the morning as well? Or are the
Breakfast,
schools
that- yeah,
offering
if they
free
came up.
breakfast?
Right, they would get the free meal, but if they come up for anything additional, it would be charged.
Okay. So just as a person with kids in the school,
Sure.
like we've had to have the talk with my girls, like the milk in the morning is great, I'm sure,
Yeah.
but you have a certain amount and you have to make decisions. But I wonder if kiddos qualify for free lunch, I don't like the idea of like nickel and diming them. So I wonder if that's something that individual school PTAs could start discussing. Like, I think coming up with $185.50 over the course of a year could be completely possible in this elementary school setting. You know what I mean? I'm just like sort of processing this out loud. I'm an auditory processor. But it's just striking to me that we have free count kids and there's still a dollar amount attached to them. I'm not sure how we reconcile that as a community outside of district budgeting.
I also feel that if breakfast and lunch at school is all they eat, then they should be able to go out 5 times. You know, and we have kids, there are children, I think, that are food insecure enough that sometimes they know it. That's what I get, so I'm gonna eat a donut and take one home.
To qualify is significant. Like, these kiddos really do need, like, school is where they're getting their meals. So yeah, thank you for allowing me to just sort of like openly process that.
So, Mr. Dunn, if I am a free lunch person at Brentwood Middle School and I come in and I don't want the parfait or whatever that they're offering, and instead decide I'm going to want the Pop-Tarts that are also right there, does that qualify, or am I charged for those?
You'd be charged for those.
Charged for the Pop-Tarts and the,
because that's
and the candy
not the school
and the other
lunch.
things
Push
that
that
are in
free
there.
meal. You get the whole thing that makes up a free meal. They try to push that regardless. So they may say, hey, I want the fruit. You can go through the line and put the fruit in the basket if they want, but they have to go through the line with a complete meal.
It's the
But if
nutritional
they get
meal.
the supplemental stuff, yeah, the nutritional meal, that they're getting. The free meal they will. Anything supplemental, Pop-Tarts, chips, sodas, that's all being charged to the account.
So if I skip my free meal but want to get 3 sodas and chips, that was going to show up here. But if I eat my free meal, then that's not going to show up here.
Right.
Okay.
Because it's the government-provided food, not the school-provided Pop-Tarts.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. Go ahead, Ms. Hastings.
I'm not as concerned about the school district absorbing the free amounts and the reduced amounts. It's the open amounts for paid students at 53,000.
Yep.
Have we made attempts to?
Every month, there's phone calls, they get automated notices, we send letters, yep.
And we can't, all right, and we've encouraged those families to fill out the forms to see if they qualify in any way?
I'll ask a
Go ahead,
question
Ms. Meeker.
as one of these 87 on the Abbott Downey School. So for instance, we've continued to put money into my daughter's app. Toward the end of the school year, she continued to eat more than we thought she would. And so she closed out the school year with like a $7 debt. And I wasn't sure how to clear that debt. Can I pay it now? Like,
Sure.
Yeah. No, I was just wondering, like, once the school year closes out, and we have continued to put money in for this school year, but are there opportunities for sort of that tail end debt to be?
Yeah, so we have to have, for the June 30th, we have to have the program at 0.
Yeah.
So we flush it out, we have to export this file, we have this file. And people can still call and pay. They're not gonna see it when they log on. We are working with the vendor to see, can we put it in another bucket?
Yeah.
Because we don't wanna intermix school years, and I can't show on the books that this debt is carried. I will have to show a transfer that all this is paid off, which is what we processed once you approve. So, people can call in and pay, yes. Are we gonna do a letter? Yes. But I know I have to satisfy that.
Ms. Hastings.
When parents log on in September to put money in their child's account for this school year, so they're seeing a 0 balance because we've paid it.
Correct.
And so they may not necessarily be aware that the balance we're asking for is from previous year or maybe more.
That's why we're asking the vendor to put it in a separate bucket, because I don't want to intermix. So that's one option. The other option will be a letter that they'll receive from us. And they can send a check in, drop off cash. We have people that come up right to the front counter and pay their money. put 25 hours on their account.
I'm hoping that a lot of this, especially in the paid accounts, is that people just didn't, they saw 0, thought they were okay. I'd like to think that. And maybe with clarification, they'll be able to get in. And again, with the free and the reduced.
The total of the free and reduced is what you were running pre-COVID, between 7 and
Right.
15.
And that-
Total.
Yeah.
Then after 2 years of free meals, now you're at
That's what-
61,000 for everybody.
I think there's also the reality of folks not taking advantage of free and reduced meals because there is that barrier. We don't have like Medicaid direct certification yet, which would alleviate all of this for everyone. But I think what we're looking at is potentially a lot of families that are probably right on the line and don't qualify, or refuse to fill out the paperwork, or just don't have the bandwidth to. Lots of families don't participate in those kind of programming because there's pride attached to, you know, being vulnerable and saying, yes, I need help. Yeah, I think, I don't know, the amount worries me just about folks not being able to take advantage of a program that could really help them out.
I wished I had better news for you. I will say that the federal government, the Department of Agriculture, has just recently released monies for food to pay for free and reduced. And there are, and what I mean by that, the money will come in and it will cover the entire school. So we know that 85 schools, additional schools in New Hampshire, were eligible for that. And we have discovered that again, we're doing this work up front, so we're still watching it, that Broken Ground, Runlet, and on the cusp is Millbrook, to be able to have increased funds to have free lunch for everybody. But there's some caveats tied to it. So Donna Reynolds, our food service director, is looking at it. So we're hoping, we have our fingers crossed, that there will be additional funds for those schools that meet the criteria. There were a number of criteria: how many foster children, how many homeless, how many met the guidelines for poverty, Medicaid. Was that it? That was it.
SNAP.
And SNAP, right, SNAP, which is, for the young. So we're looking at that, and it looks like those 3 schools may be eligible for more funding to cover lunches. So we'll keep you posted on that. That's about the only good news I have on this one. But Donna is on it and working with the Department of Ed and her, they have a group that they belong to, a group of food service directors, and they're all working on it. So I'll keep you posted.
I just think you can't learn if you're hungry.
Exactly, and some of it is what Jack and Jack described. At Runlet, they have a meal, but you're 13 years old or you're 12 years old, and you want an ice cream, and so you get an ice cream or you get some other kind of snack, and I understand that they're middle schoolers, and it happens, but then you end up with significant deficits. So,
Can I ask a question, Jack? It's not directly related to this, but some of the folks that have been on the board, or perhaps Ms. Hastings, are familiar with the fact that we were giving fruits and vegetables to kids in the elementary schools this morning. Do we still do that?
We do.
Good. Because there was a time when we were voting to make sure that the kids had a snack
Access to those.
that had, and some of those kids didn't even recognize some of the fruits and vegetables because they haven't had that opportunity. So I just wanted to make sure that we still had that program.
Yeah.
And
Matter of fact, there were 3 schools that went over. That's, if you remember from the meeting. And
That's right.
so that's what that 14,000 is. Because when she came to me and said they won't let me move the allocations between schools. There's a new group of people over there, and they're interpreting it a little different than what had been done in the past. So we had to pay for it. She asked me, are they going to cover it? I said, I'm sure they will. I remember there were several years ago, 2 schools said weren't going to qualify. We just paid for it. I said, just keep it going.
You had that behind me and I didn't see it, and so I just asked the question totally. See, this is the bad part about sitting in this chair, because if I'd have been sitting over where Mr. Croto is, I'd be just nodding wisely.
I was trying to tell you.
That's good. No, I just wanted to make sure, because there was a time when we had to sit down here and vote to fund some schools that were going to lose that. And I think we were rather unanimous, and I'm pretty certain this board would be rather unanimous that that's the type of program that we want to keep rolling.
Yeah, right now, all 5 qualify, so
Okay.
we should be in good shape.
Matter of fact, we just received all the
Good.
paperwork and I signed off on it for the school, so it's a go.
Good. All right. Any other questions or comments with regard to
Very
this?
enlightening report.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Jeff.
I got that $7 to you.
So you wait till after public comment?
Yes,
Okay.
we'll vote on that after public comment. At this point, we're looking at the middle school project update.
Thank you. One more. We've been trying to keep up with all the questions and answers. We have, Matt and I and the team from our architects and engineers are all working with us to answer the questions the best we can. But I wanted to update you on a little bit of progress that was made, and I usually try to get this out to you on my Friday report, but it came in late. But we have received water and sewer capacity preliminary findings. So what we've decided to do is schedule a meeting with the city and review that with them so that we can get their take on it. The traffic study for phase 2 is about ready to embark, and that will be traffic counts targeting mid-October. I think we heard during some of the testimony that was a busy time, especially with the fall foliage. So we'll be doing traffic counts. And by the way, that's both at Runlet and out in the east property at Broken Ground. The City of Concord Developmental Review, we are going to meet again with them. I think I said that with the sewer capacity, water and sewer. We're also going to meet with all the players in the city so that they can continue to get updated on the project and what's happening both at Runlet and at the Broken Ground site. This week, a team met with the athletics because the fields are a part of that. You saw that in all of the schematics that were presented. So they've met with the athletic, the ADs, both at Runlet as well as at Concord High School, Steve Mello. I want you to think about selecting, when we get to calendar, a date that you have a work session. You really need a work session. You got all this input from your hearings, your letters that you've received, and so forth, discussions that you've had with folks, So I think it's important that we think about a date for you to have a work session so you can really process all this information. And again, we're working on responding to all the questions that have been posed, so kind of an update on the project. Other than that, that's where we're at.
I have a quick question, Kathleen. We're having all of these different processes go forward. Do we know when we'll have dollar amounts, or at least theoretical dollar amounts attached to those findings, like water and sewer capacity, paving new roads, potentially for one site? Do we have any window of time that we know that we'll have those?
Well, we'll have that. Once we had those reports done, then we have an understanding of what we need to do. For instance, the water. There was speculation that we'd need a big, large pumping station. Well, that's not necessarily the case. So that certainly changes the impact of the finances, as an example, right? So once we have all that data, then the folks that have been helping us with the cost estimates will have that. I mean, that's an important piece of information. We heard that at all the hearings, People want that comparison. What we've said all along is that both projects were going to be very similar in cost. People talked about the impact of bringing utilities out to the site at Broken Ground, but you have to think about what happens with the Runlet project, the Runlet building. And if that's demolished, we also have to consider what happens with the asbestos and other materials that are in that building that all have to be removed, and it's a incredible process.
So-
So the costs are very similar, one versus the other. So we're just trying to make sure we have all the detail before we give that final number,
Okay.
Sarah.
I was under the impression that remediation was already included in the expected price of this project, regardless of what
For Runlet,
location.
yes.
But not necessarily for the broken ground
Well,
site?
no, we needed to know the water and the sewer capacity, things like that. We needed to know what was the soil, all the research and things that were
I'm
done.
understanding that part. I'm asking, remediating Runlet I was under the impression that if the broken ground site was chosen, we're gonna raise Runlet.
That's correct.
Okay, so.
Not
Well, I say
necessarily.
that.
We may
That
sell
was-
it.
That was part of the
I
proposal.
mean, it's an unsafe building.
Not necessarily. It's not adaptable. It's not really ideal for students, but it is still very much usable without, for other purposes that are not on the student regulations, in other words, so.
Okay,
So
thank you for
could
that
sell it as
clarification.
is.
Sarah, when you got the proposal, that was in there as a possibility, but ultimately, you're gonna decide that. What do you do with Runlet? How many times we've been asked that question, right? We've been asked that question. And so I think that decision is gonna be in your hands.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So hopefully, within the next, few weeks, we meet regularly every week with our architects. And so we'll have a number as we get closer and all those reports are done.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Are you going to ask us to pick a date tonight on this?
Yes, when we get to the calendar and you see your busy schedules for October
Yeah,
and
there are no
November.
dates.
I won't jump ahead. I know it's out of character for me not to read ahead, but I'm not going to at this point. All right. Thank you very much. Do you have anything else on the
No,
middle
I'm
school
good,
project?
I'm good.
All right. Anybody else have anything, questions? Let's move on to item number 8, which is public comment. So at this time, I will ask for anyone who would like to make a public comment to please come down, sign in, state your name, and you can comment on anything. Do typically ask that you limit your comment to 5 minutes, but does anyone wish to make a public comment on any topic? Anyone? Sure, come on down.
Hi. Ellen Kenny, teacher at the Broken Ground School. And first, I just want to thank you again for a few different things. Before I get started on what you all know I'm going to be talking about, I want to thank you for the commentary on the school lunch program. And I feel like what you said, Ms. Robinson, about the sense of pride and maybe, I don't know, loss of face that goes with filling out the forms and saying you need that kind of help may be bigger than we think. And we had our open house for parents a week and a half ago or so, and we had our food pantry open that night, and we gave out tons of food. People were at first hesitant, and I was also trying to get people to fill out the forms for lunch. That was a no-go. I didn't get any people doing that, but these huge, enormous cabbages that were like all over the table, and I thought, yeah, like we're gonna get rid of these. They were gone. Bags of carrots, bags of onions, eggs, milk, bags of rice, the staples. And there were an enormous number of people taking them, so just putting that out there. Thank you. So thanks for the opportunities for people in the community to say what they thought about the middle school project. And I think you'll agree with me that we heard from a varied group of citizens from multiple different wards, and by and large, the majority were saying, please rebuild at the current site. So the next question that I know you're all have foremost in your minds is what's best for our children. And the middle school kids who will be using this building 3 years from now, but also 10 years, 20 years, and generations from now. I feel like there's really no compelling reason that we've heard that makes me think that 21st century learning, as articulated really well by Dr. Murphy, cannot take place at the current site. Where it's going on today and where it's going to continue to go on for at least the next 3 years. And with that said, I just wanted to bring back, for the people that weren't there, maybe the first night, a point that a guy whose name I think was Mr. Bailey brought up early in the evening. He said, you've got this great piece of land. It's like a treasure that instead of using now, when you don't really have to, save it and hang on to it and think forward, because 30, 40, 50 years from now, the Concord School District might very well need a piece of land like this. So don't let it burn a hole in your pocket now. Hang on to it. It is a very valuable asset to have. And I feel like our very smart architects can use land that we have to build the best possible school. Thank you for hearing me again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to make a public comment this evening? Not seeing anyone. We will move on. Thank you very much for public comment. At this point, we will vote on the tech governance plan. So would anyone like to make a motion relative to that?
I move that we accept the technology report, or I'm sorry, the Empower Ed for the Concord School District manual as presented to the board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, moved by Ms. Robinson and seconded by Mr. Croto. Is there any further discussion or questions? Not seeing any. Go ahead, Mr. Brown, or Mr. Cotton, I'm sorry.
Maybe just a procedural question. Are we just accepting the plan, or, I mean, are we adopting the plan?
I believe it's adopting the plan for use. It'd be my interpretation, Mr.
Yes.
Dunn, is that the way
Yes.
it is?
So I would move to amend the proposed motion to adopt as opposed to simply accept the report.
Yeah, I'll accept that friendly amendment. I
All
trust
right.
your language more than my own, Mr. Cotton.
Mr. Cotton, so the current motion is as amended by Mr. Cotton and accepted by Ms. Robinson. Is there any further discussion? And Mr. Croto, you're good with that? You're the one who seconded it? All right. With that, the motion is to adopt the district technology governance plan as presented. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Next up is a vote on the school lunch program. Superintendent, what are you asking us to vote on with regards to this? And
Well, I'm asking you to authorize the transfer. It's behind you, $61,636.39 to cover outstanding debt, and affirm the transfer of to cover the cost, $14,624.99 to cover the cost of the fruit and vegetable program for May, June, and September.
Mr. Dunn, where are we transferring this money from, may I ask?
Health accounts that were owed.
Okay, I'm familiar with that. Very good. Does anyone care to make that motion?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Hastings,
Second.
seconded
Either way.
by Ms. Higgins,
By
just
Barbara
because
Meeker.
Any further discussion on on the motion with regards to the school lunch program?
I'll just say one more thing. I think as board members, if we could think creatively about removing barriers for families to get easier access. I know that Concord is one of the few districts that has an online portal for this program, and I wonder if that's something that we can start to work with within the schools that we represent to maybe help families access that instead of having paper copies like at the open house, maybe having an iPad set up where folks could access it a little bit easier and maybe more discreetly instead of it being like that green paperwork. Just hoping that we can brainstorm ways to bring families into the fold easier.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson. You're referring to accessing
The free and reduced price lunch application.
Because
Yes.
we certainly want people to take advantage of it, and we certainly don't want to stigmatize anybody. because-
The other benefit that comes with, when you qualify for free and reduced lunch and you're known to qualify for that, you get into middle school and high school and there are athletic fees and all these different fees that can be waived if you qualify for free and reduced lunch. So families with multiple kids who now have 2 elementary kids and a middle school kid, the middle school kid wants to wrestle, and there's that fee that you have to, that disappears if you're on the free and reduced lunch. So
Thank you for mentioning
that's
that.
just another piece that's super helpful for families that maybe they would sign up if they knew it wasn't just the food.
And even more so, those families are helping, by signing up, they're helping us as a district. Because that's what, those numbers determine our
lot of our
Title
help.
I
Yeah.
and multiple other grants that help us reach out to, those who are, need that assistance. So by someone signing up and applying, they're really helping the district and helping those individuals that need that help so desperately. So we appreciate them signing up. I mean, it really helps us out quite a bit. And I think that's what you were going to mention, Mr. Fabrizio.
Yes, you are correct. That is our threshold, as you would say, to how we get a lot of our funding in the district. It's all of our titles. It begins with Title I, but it's all of our title grants that we receive. It all begins with our free and reduced numbers. So again, I'll reiterate what President Richards said about please fill out those forms. And if you ever need help, you can always contact any of your schools, and all of the admin assistants in the buildings are very versed in doing this, and it's done very discreetly.
Thank you very much. There's no stigma in helping us keep our taxes down. Much appreciated.
Good point.
All right. So at this point, we have voted. We have a vote, or
We need a
we
vote on this lunch.
I didn't think we had gotten that far. No, it's okay. That was the discussion portion. So does anybody else have any other items to bring up before we vote? All right. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Very good. The motion passes. Thank you. With that, we move on to personnel.
Good evening. We refer you to page 67 of the board book. We have new teacher nomination as well as the document that I handed out prior to the meeting. We were fortunate enough to get a candidate for a speech language after the board book was created. So we do have 2 nominations for a new teacher, math teacher at Runlet and a speech language pathologist at Runlet.
Very good. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Guerin with regards to our nominees?
No.
Not seeing any. Do I have a motion to approve the nominations?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Higgins. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Seconded by Ms. Robinson. No discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The nominations are approved.
Okay, we do have a new fall coach that was replacing, for JB Spirit. The previous candidate was not going to be able to complete the season, so we did bring in a new JB Spirit coach.
Nice.
High school.
Very good. Do you have any questions with regards to the JV Spirit coach? Not seeing any. I will make a motion to accept the nomination for the JV Spirit coach. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Higgins. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? That nomination is approved.
have 6 new winter coach nominations, beginning on page 69 and on page 70, for various sports throughout the winter season.
Very good. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Guerin with regards to the winter coaches?
No.
Okay.
I would just say I'm glad to see that we had some
Yeah.
homegrown
Folks,
folks
yeah.
there. Jesse Camacho for one, and probably a few others that we don't know. but-
Did
Dylan
recognize
Emerson.
some
Yeah,
names.
there's a lot of familiar names there. I like that. That's
Good.
great.
Good.
Love to see it.
So, do I have a motion to accept the nominations for winter coaches?
So,
Moved by Mr. Croto. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Cotton. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The winter coach nominations pass.
And lastly, on page 71, we have the returning winter coach nominations. So you'll see on the list, the yellow ones were the ones that you just approved for the new, and the other are the existing that will be returning to their positions.
Okay, does anyone have any questions for Ms. Guerin with regards to the returning winter coaches? Yes, Mr. Weinberg.
Is there any formal thing for me to join, or am I allowed to vote on these? as
No,
well?
you're
Okay.
fine, yeah.
I believe
You're all
that-
in.
I believe Ms. Hastings had that the moment you walked through the door, so welcome.
Thank you.
Appreciate you making the extraordinary effort to still get in here, although I know you had a previous commitment this evening, so. So you may vote, yes. So, do I have a motion to accept the existing winter coaches?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Meeker, seconded by Mr. Cotton. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The coach nominations are approved. Thank you. Is there anything else this evening? Is that covered?
I do not have anything.
Excellent. Thank you very much. With that, we will move on to communications and policy. Mr. Cotton?
If you turn to page 72, you'll see the minutes from our meeting in September. There are a couple of things that need to be corrected there. On page 73, the first full paragraph starting at the conclusion references a motion by Pam Walsh and seconded by Mr. Richards to move the discussion forward for a first reading. That should say second reading. Same thing on the next page, 74. It references in the first full paragraph, the first reading once again, and again, that's the second reading. So what we have before you tonight are two policies, policy 890, which deals with volunteers, and policy 462, which deals with background investigations and criminal history records checks. We are recommending that both of these policies be adopted. I will say that the committee went through them fairly carefully. I think this was the second time we went through them. So, as indicated in our minutes, we recommend that these be adopted. So, I'm going to make a motion that first we approve the minutes, and secondly, that we adopt policy 890 and policy number 462.
Okay. Does anyone have any objection to both of these policies being together in the same motion? Not seeing any, then that's fine. And this, once again, I'll remind everyone, as Mr. Cotton clarified, these are second readings. This will be the last reading. If we approve them, they will become two policies. So the motion was made by Mr. Cotton. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Hastings. Any further discussion relative to either of these policies? Go ahead, Mr. Croto.
So, Mr. Cotton, and the Communication Policies Committee, I sat on that committee in my last round around here. These are tricky policies to get through and get worded properly, and I commend the committee for their work. It's especially these where we're talking about background checks and all of the things that we need to meet as a school district to make sure our kids are safe. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Croto. And I will echo that and point out that Mr. Cotton and Ms. Meeker did a tremendous amount of work to make sure that these were the policies that they are and that they're correct and clear and accurate. I sit on that committee, and yeah, they carried me more on this one. They did an outstanding job. So thank you. Any other discussion? All right. All those in favor of the motion to adopt the policy 890 and 462? I'm sorry, what?
We have to adopt the minutes and the policies.
Oh, pardon me. Thank you very much.
Approve the minutes.
Approve the minutes and adopt both of those policies. Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion passes. Thank you. Mr. Cotton, do we have anything else with regards to communication and policy?
No, sir.
All right. With that, we'll move on to item 12, subcommittees. Does the Sustainability Committee have anything to report this evening?
We do, and you all are cruising when I don't come here. How are we this far? Oh my gosh.
Apparently you slow things down.
I see that.
And we had a great presentation by the
see-
Abbott Downing kids,
I see
too.
that.
On how to conduct a proper meeting.
I know. Seriously. Bazinga.
So, Mr. Weinberg, if you're sitting like a leader, I think we're ready to move on.
So probably the most important piece to bring out of the Sustainability Committee is this Thursday, October 5th at 10 a.m. is the Community Power Committee subcommittee meeting, which will be kind of discussing Concord joining the Community Power Coalition and what that kind of will look like, and there will also be a public input component to it. So it's this Thursday, October 5th, 10 a.m. in City Hall, second floor conference room for folks that are interested in joining and learning about community power. Besides that, unless there are any updates from Mr. Cashman or Mr. Dunn about the school district's ventures, then I have no further updates.
Thank you, Mr. Weinberg. Mr. Cashman or Dunn, anything to add? Okay. Thank you very much. Equity Advisory Committee, do we have an update from Equity Advisory?
We do, thank you. We have not met yet this year. However, tomorrow from 3 to 5 is our first meeting of the year at Runlet Middle School. And at that meeting, we will revisit our charges as various members of the committee. We'll also look at going through all of our goals that are in the strategic plan and determine where we are, which ones we've met and which ones we're working towards and which ones we yet to have touched at that point. We're also going to do an overview of all of the events that have occurred that might be tangentially related to the committee. So, for example, we'll cover what happened at the Multicultural Fair or Festival and various other events that have occurred around Concord in support of diversity and equity and inclusion. We'll end the day with a shared reading about, there actually is 2 articles that I put at your place. One is an article about the importance of actually taking action, and it's really very quite compelling. And the other is sort of a checklist on how it is that you might go about taking action towards your goals, so that we become both a intellectual think tank but also an action group that's making a difference in Concord.
Very good. Does anyone have any questions? I have just a question with regards to you're going to be reviewing goals and achievements and those type of things tomorrow. Can this board get a summary at our next meeting of that to bring us up to speed with exactly where this committee is? I mean, not that your verbal report isn't outstanding, because it is, but I think it'd be nice if we had something in the board book as well. I don't know if anyone else shares that feeling or not.
I could absolutely give you an update, and I could also share the PowerPoint that has some of that information.
that'd be,
So
that'd be
I
most
think the pub-
appreciated, thank you.
It'd be good for the public to know though, so we can put it into the packet.
Yeah, we're interested and we want to keep up. Thank you. All right. Item 13, other business, monthly enrollment. Superintendent, do you want to take this one?
I will. I think it's pretty much self-explanatory to you if you look at it. In terms of our enrollment, I think again, although down a little bit, our preschool has been a concern. But we're at 129, which was a little bit less than last year. But remember, the issue with preschool is that they can come in at any time. As soon as they turn 3, they're eligible for the preschool program. So it is a challenge for John and his team because they can come in during the year. So even though it says 129, which is down a little bit from if you look at last July, you'll see the numbers are down a little bit. But they were 145 in July and 129, but I suspect as you'll see, those numbers change over time. But for the most part, it's stayed pretty steady in terms of, give or take. October 1 is the dates we use when we're reporting out enrollment and using that information to the department. So those are solid numbers after, people come in during the summer. But we're still seeing a lot of movement. It's amazing. There used to be, you'd see an influx of students come September, but it's all year now. John just shared with me today that we've had a number of students that has required extra attention from John's department coming in unanticipated, right? So it's just it's a process all during the year. So, but right now I think the net numbers stay pretty steady. I looked at class sizes and I think we're in the range of your policy around class sizes. I didn't see anything that raised a red flag for me to bring to your attention, but as you know, I always keep an eye on it in making sure that our class sizes follow the policy that you have. Other than that, I think we're good.
Does anyone have any questions with regards to enrollment? Go ahead, Ms.
I have a question around Runlet from September to October. It looks like a significant number of students from, 792 to 781. That seems like a pretty big drop in 1 month. Do we
Yeah,
know
and
what's...
that's sometimes, we're just coming and figuring out who's left, and we get requests for records. As
Okay.
you know, they don't always come in right away. The youngster registers in another school district or another facility.
So they're not removed until we get those requests.
Yeah.
So that
I
might be
can't-
from the original 808
Right.
in August
So,
or July.
you just have to
Okay.
wait to see that.
All right.
We've seen some homeschool applications at that level. That's a very difficult time, and so we've seen a few more homeschool requests. More that than anything else. I'm not seeing them picking up and leaving and going to private schools. It's the homeschool.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Weinberg.
So regarding the homeschool request, I know it's broken down with how many homeschool notifications since July 1st of 2020. It could be valuable to see the annual breakdown as well, or if that's possible.
The problem is that we could get a letter indicating homeschool and the youngsters in 3rd grade, we never hear from them again. They have no responsibility to keep us updated annually. They only have to submit it once. The other problem that's somewhat of a challenge to us is that they don't even have to register with us and be homeschooled. They can register at the Department of Ed. And the Department of Ed has this policy that they don't tell us that they're homeschooled. And so we don't get I don't get a letter from the department telling me that, 3 children registered from Concord for homeschooling. So it's not a very good, accurate number.
So these are discretionary.
They very much are. I want you to know though, in every homeschool call we get, and Bridget often is the one that takes them in the office, and we make every effort to let the parent know that we're always here from them. They're taxpayers in this community. That they are eligible if they want to try 1 or 2 classes, maybe it's a specialty class. Sometimes it's a integrated arts, you know, that maybe the parent isn't quite as comfortable. At the high school, it might be one of the more higher level classes like chemistry or physics where they may not be comfortable. We always say, please don't hesitate to reach us and participate. We do get adequacy money for high school students who are homeschooled and access the program. So if you're homeschooled and you say, I want to take physical education at Concord High School, then we can use that data in our adequacy and get reimbursement for that from the state. So just know that. I wish it were, you know, there was a day when they had to provide their curriculum and their assessments, how the children did at the end of the year. That no longer is the case. It's pretty much they let the school district know that they're homeschooling or the Department of Ed, and that's the end of it.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much, Superintendent. Next up will be our calendar.
So I always say this every month, don't I? Well, you have a very busy month ahead of you. I sound like a broken record, and I apologize, but you do. So this week you have a capital facilities meeting at 5:30. I do want to let you know that Dr. Herbert and I will be going to Deerfield. As you know, every year we submit an annual report to Deerfield with statistics about the Deerfield kids. And so the school board would like Dr. Herbert to present the data and answer any questions they have. Apparently they have some questions, so he and I will go and do that. Just so you know that.
When is that?
That's on Wednesday at 6 o'clock, Tim? 6 o'clock at their elementary school, a community school. Friday's no school. It's a PD day for our staff. As you know, we share that PD activity with the NEA, NHNEA. So some of our staff will be participating in Bow on their workshops, and then I'll say that Kim and her team have done an extraordinary job in providing outstanding professional development opportunities in-house for our staff, and it includes not only our teachers, but it includes the paraprofessionals. So John had a hand in the day so that they got the training they needed, along with tutors. So it's a very robust program, and they did an outstanding job. I'm very pleased. All related to, by the way, two-year strategic plan, so that we're all working together to achieve the outcomes that we want. The 9th is Indigenous Peoples' Day, so there'll be no school that day for our students. On the 11th, you have a non-public to do the superintendent's evaluation. And so one of the things that I was thinking about for your consideration, there's only one non-public meeting on the 11th. Maybe the 12th would be a good day for your special meeting to have a work session. Think about that as a possibility. I was looking at the calendar. It's a little tough. The following week is instructional and finance. Special request from Mr. Cashman, because he's going to be the father of the bride starting on the 19th, so he wants to be around for your work session, and he didn't really want to come in his tux, so if we could think, yeah.
If you don't mind.
I will.
Yeah, so it's pretty exciting time for Matt and his family. On the 23rd, you have your executive committee, and that is an evening that we have a vote on your final budget with all the recommendations. So that's an important meeting, and we need a quorum of seven in the affirmative in order for that to pass. And remember, that's critical for tax setting purposes.
Now, Superintendent, last month, wasn't that on the 30th?
Yeah.
Well, we couldn't, people were not available, so we were jockeying.
I guess I'd like to ask who's available on
change
the
it.
23rd. Not who's, we can talk to me later too.
I'm not available.
Okay.
On the 23rd. No, that's okay. We were going
I'm
back
not
and
sure.
forth.
I don't know if I.
Are
maybe
you
Monday or
back on the
Tuesday.
30th?
I'm back on the 30th.
There was somebody who couldn't be here the 30th. Bob, that's right.
So you're not free either day.
What about Mrs. Walsh? Do we know? Miss Walsh?
I have no idea.
I don't know, I thought she was available on the 30th, but I'm not sure about.
I mean, we can.
We don't know about the 23rd. Can we talk about this offline? And I would like to have Bridget poll
Okay.
the board to
Yep.
see who's available on
Yep.
either of those dates.
I'll have her do that.
I am here on the 23rd.
You are here.
According
And
to
the
this.
30th is flexible to move to the city and community relations, just let me
Okay.
know.
But you're not here on the 30th, is that right?
I am back on the 30th.
Okay, you're back, all right. I will have Bridget poll everybody, all right, is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah, I
All
think that's a
right,
good
okay.
idea.
All right, other than that, that's it for you, the month of October.
Oh, that's all.
And we move to November, again, capital facilities. We've been really staying consistent with capital facilities, the first Wednesday of the month. You have your board meeting on the 6th. 7th is no school because we close our schools because of the number of schools that are being used as voting places. So this year voting will occur at Abbott Downing, at Christa McAuliffe, at Broken Ground, and at Beaver Meadow. That's new this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's also a PD day for our teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for reminding me, John. Negotiations, as you know, we're starting negotiations with a number of our unions, so we want to set aside a night for our committee. On Friday, the 10th is Veterans Day. There'll be no school that day, so that's a really short week for the kids. Executive committee the following week with instructional and finance on Wednesday, city and community on the 20th, and then we break on the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th for a Thanksgiving break. And back on the 27th with communication and policy after the Thanksgiving break. So there's no rest for the weary is the best way to put it.
Do I have any input with regards to the working session date that, I think the superintendent wanted the 19th? I don't know. 12th. Oh, 12th?
Of October?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I work in Massachusetts on Thursday nights, so I'm never available, but you can all work around me.
I mean, I'm just trying to we could we could do Tuesday, the 10th.
Could we do a back-to-back non-public on the 11th, and then at 6:30 meet for a working session? Would that be too much?
You are extremely confident
I
in
am.
the 1 hour.
I don't think that will take very long. Oh, who said that?
That would work for me. I'd rather have one long night than.
Yeah, let's do it. I say let's do that. That's a good suggestion.
Put a time
Mind if I
credit.
throw in a backup date of the week of the 16th? The other thing is we want to make sure 100% the architects have everything in. Remember, the superintendent said reports are coming in.
Yeah, I would like that too.
So maybe pick 2 dates and then we can finalize when she polls.
Okay.
How about we do the 11th and the 17th?
Yeah, I like
11th and
that.
17th.
Okay.
So 11th as a possible date for the work session after the non-public, okay, and then the 17th as a backup, okay.
Yeah.
I will get more, again, I think I mentioned it earlier, Matt and Jack and I and Jay is often on the call. Other folks are on the call with the architect, and we'll talk to them and say, are we ready to do that?
Okay, cool.
Okay?
May I suggest that on the 11th, if it happens on the 11th, that we do that meeting, the work session first, and then.
You'll be awful tired to do
Yeah.
that second piece.
Well, it might move us along.
We might be
though.
cranky.
It might be cranky.
All right.
I think
That's
having the
good.
two will keep us honest.
I think we might need both of them.
The 11th and the 17th?
Yeah.
I'm thinking that possibility could occur too.
I was just thinking we might
Yeah.
move
So-
faster on these evaluation.
So, yes, Mr. Curtis.
So is there a possibility that we could get presented on that screen a list of pros and cons from both sides? And I realize that the pros and cons might be, they need to be very subjective, and, or objective, I guess. need something to begin with, you know, because that discussion sounds like it's just gonna grow out of, you know, whoever says something first, and then we'll start talking about it, but if you could give us some guidance,
We can absolutely do that.
and just, you know, put it out there as honestly as we can, you know, and then we can switch things from column 1 to column 2. I mean, something that maybe put down as a pro for one site might end up being a negative, you know, as the night goes on, but at least it gives us a framework to start with.
I believe capital facilities will debrief as well.
Yep.
And so there'll probably be some material that comes out of that.
Good.
That's right.
The, this work session, I just want to clarify, is a public work session. There's not going to be any information in that that is not available for public. It's all, there's nothing that would be fall to that. Good, because I think that's the way it should be. Okay?
But this is a chance for you to have discourse amongst yourselves, which you haven't
Exactly.
had. I mean, you've been great listeners, which is important, but, you know, you haven't had a chance to do that discussion as Tom described, the pros and cons with each other, and I think that's important. Ultimately, you make the decision.
Well, and this, I think, will be a good session for us to bounce ideas off each other and possibly ask more questions
Yep.
for the architect
be.
and for Mr. Cashman. So.
Lucky you.
And we still have the month, you know, November to work out those questions if you have them. So we'll work on two things, those two dates possibility for your work session, and then I will ask Bridget to poll around the best date for voting on the budget that you all need to do. We need to have 7 folks in the affirmative.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Bridget.
Yes, Mr. Weinberg, do you, if with the switches to the 30th, the city and community relations have any issue with the 20th?
No, because originally I got a call about switching. And so very flexible for
All right,
Indeed.
that's
where
fine
that
then.
meeting goes.
We can do it.
Good. Okay. All right.
Thanks, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions with regards to the calendar?
Not the calendar, but I do have a question before we adjourn.
Certainly. Well, it's public comment. You can actually even ask. I didn't know why. This is only if we needed it and we didn't, because we didn't use up our time for the first one. We didn't have people commenting. Unless there's someone out there who didn't get a chance to comment that would like to. Go ahead, please. Unless the board has an objection, I think we'll happy to hear. Just sign in and be sure to speak into the microphone so the public can hear you.
Hi, I'm Gib West. I live here in Concord.
Welcome, Mr. West.
Thank you. So I just as a member of the public, listening to the conversation about what's going to be discussed at the session about the middle school. Is there, I know there's a set of stated goals or concerns and positives. Having sat in on one and heard a lot about the online Zoom feedback, I guess my only question is, and the board doesn't have to answer this, but it's a consideration for me, is how is that public input going to be framed in terms of whatever decisions you guys are, what criteria you can ultimately use to make that decision? And so that's just a question as somebody who's been watching this now since last August when you guys had your first, when you all had your first meeting to now. So I just wanted to frame that, and you may not have an answer at this point, but it's certainly something that I think is worthwhile making clear to everybody so that there isn't a lot of pushback if things don't go the way some people want them to go. So just from my perspective.
Thank you, Mr. West, and I believe I'm safe to say that the board will take into account the public comment at those meetings as well as the emails and other comments, personal comments that have been made to us overall from anyone in the community. We've welcomed everyone's input, so thank you.
Thanks very much.
Have a good evening. Superintendent, do we have a non-public
I have a question
session?
first, though.
All right, then we don't have a non-public?
Oh.
Thank God.
So go.
Mr. Dunn, last month I had asked you about a public, a staff encumbrance of $99,000. You were gonna get back to me on that?
Yeah, that was the, it was the, ARPN, the nurse, was not classified in the correct account. It's been moved, so that is zeroed out.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Hastings, for following up on that.
And make a comment that we were gonna put the finance report in this month, you know, so you could see those numbers again, but we had just run the first payroll, significant payroll, so she was in the process of it, so we decided to hold off. You'll get a fresh, updated financial report at your November meeting, okay?
great. Thank
Because
you.
you wanna look at that, and, you know, Jack will show you where those changes were made.
Great.
I just want to bring everyone's attention to the fact that the middle school project website does have the criteria that you're using. Do you remember, they put them up on the screen and, you know, around things like safety, and do you remember they had a list of a criteria? So we'll be pulling that out so that you can use that to say, okay, what are the safety elements at Runlet, what are the safety elements that are concerned at Broken Ground? So hopefully that will help, because you're right, it could be all over the place, and you want to try to be defined. We'll have that for you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
There's the line. Because, so as the
Oh, I
superintendent was
see.
saying, she processed payroll, granted, we're one that day. But when they did, it said the permanent subs were 178,000 to the negative. I knew that wasn't right. I couldn't get it done in time to get it in there, and I said, I'll just wait till next month, so.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you getting back to me on that.
No problem. Yeah.
Does anyone have any other business? Go ahead, Mr. Weinberg.
I'm not sure if we discussed the multicultural festival at all at the beginning, but I just wanted to say thank you to all the community members that came to say hi, and Kathleen and Tom as well for being there.
Very good.
And Michelle.
And Michelle, indeed. And the Concord teachers that visited all together. So.
It's a great event. Awesome.
Thank you. Any other business?
The next monthly board meeting is my birthday, so there will be cake involved. I was like, are we doing cookies, cake, gift cards? You know, to be posted.
May
Straight
I?
up.
May
I love your boldness.
Can we have your Venmo?
May I direct you,
Buy your
Ms.
drink.
Meeker, to the executive committee meeting of the 23rd, where we will be discussing that agenda and all the things associated with it. And we cannot discuss it here because it would ruin the surprise.
You never expect that from you, and I love that.
Do we have any other business this evening? Then I would entertain a motion, should someone like to make it.
So
to adjourn.
moved.
Moved by Ms. Higgins. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Seconded by Ms. Meeker. All those in favor, and that is a motion to adjourn, just for the record. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? We're adjourned.